Hello everyone, welcome to 3DDesignAcademy.com and the 6th Q&A session. In this segment, I will attempt to solve various problems or questions that you guys might have in Alias. If you have a question or an area that's not working out, please feel free to send me a model to contact@3DDesignAcademy.com. Now, in this particular segment, a viewer asked me about building an area that connects the A pillar to the roof for the Polestar O2 concept. So let me show you guys a picture of this area. So as you can see, this is the particular segment in question. Now, this is actually quite different from a regular A pillar and roof workout because this is actually a little bit different. The execution is a little bit different because it's not as a smooth. It's not a smooth transition going from the A pillar to the roof line, because this is what usually happens in cars. Because there's a windshield and there's a smooth transition. There's just a big filler between the windshield and the roof, and the A pillar, of course, has to follow as such. So just mind you, this is a little bit different workout, but let's actually explore it. Okay, so I have the basic surfaces built out for the windshield and the glass and the side glass, and I just have the images for reference. Now, they are not orthographic drawings, they're not blueprints, so it's going to be a little bit off, but I thought they were accurate enough, and a reference is better than nothing. So let's get started. So if you have a surface like this, what I'm going to do is, let's actually go back to the image and just explore some of the things. So if you look at this particular picture, you'll see that there is a highlight or a bone line flowing through here and also through here. And if you look at, same thing over here. So you'll see a clear break between the side and the front. So it's actually not a bad workout. It's really easy. I don't think it's that difficult to execute. Plus, if you look at the top image over here, you'll see that there's a surface going through the front, surface to the side. So all you have to do is just connect the two and put a fillet through the middle. So let's actually build that in Alias. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to build the surface for the front of the roof. So I'm just going to grab a curve over here. I'm just going to snap it like this, and I'm just going to bring it up to this point like that. And of course, I do have a side view reference, so let's put that in. It's a little light, so let's bring it up to here. And of course, I'm pretty sure it has a little bit of crown, so let's put that in. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a rail. Now, because it's going through the center, I'll prefer parallel. Of course, the parallel with the parallel sweep mode, it's going to just end up like this. So you might not get the necessary crown for this area. Now, if you don't like that, of course, you can use natural. Except I have to pick this one first, which is going to give you a more complementary shape. But of course, the only problem is it's going to give you a span in the middle. So in order to resolve that, what you can do is you can just do a fit curve. And you want to match the the CV structure. So I'm just going to do a fit curve and do a degree 3, because this roof piece is also a degree 3. And I'm just going to delete it, and I'm going to just redo it with a freeform blend, so it's going to position on both sides. I'm just going to put a crown there. Crown proportion, I don't think it's a lot, but let's compare. So I'm just going to compare against the curve. So you can either project, or you can also do, freeform blend, not freeform blend, patch precision. And it looks like I might need just a little bit more, to match the curve. And I think that looks pretty good. And I'm going to be doing the same thing over here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pick a curve over here, snap it over here, and I'm going to snap it somewhere over here. I think that looks pretty accurate, so I'm going to do that. And now I'm going to give it just a little bit of crown. So I'm just going to go to a front view, give it a little bit of crown. Actually, I feel like I can just use this edge. Well, let's see. I'm just going to do a rail. So it's going to be 1 and 1 like this. And let's just take a look. That's actually not bad. So what I can do is I can just extend this one. Actually, before you extend this one, because this is going through the center, just want to make sure the symmetric modeling is on, like this. Now, because this is a fit curve, I think there was a little slight discrepancy, so it wasn't symmetric. So you just want to make sure that's on. And now I'm just going to do a little bit extension like this, and I think that looks good. Now, actually, I think I might have skipped a little detail over here. So I think I'm going to do that first. Now, I'm not quite sure if the front has that detail going through. Well, to be honest, I'm not quite seeing it, so I'm going to assume that this is just a blend. So if that's the case, what I can do is, well, I just need something a little bit more vertical for this area. Now, if I were to like completely build the whole thing, this would probably have to work nicely with this one, but because of this is just a demonstration for this area, I'm not going to be doing that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, I think I'm just going to recycle the surface over here. So I'm just going to raise it up like this, and I'll probably blend it later on. And well, it's kind of hard to see, but I think there's something there. I think the thickness is probably something along this line. So let's put that in. So I'm just going to grab rail. It's going to be 1-on-1, of course. And I'm just going to put it like that. And this, I think the angle probably has to be a little bit more inboard of this. So I'm just going to put that in like this. And I think, yeah, that's not too bad. I'll probably lean it a little bit more. Just a little bit more. And of course, this should have some crown. So let's put a little bit in. Oh, actually, that might be a little bit too much. So let's just a little bit. Because I don't think any automotive surface is flat, so you just want to put just a little bit in like this, and I think that looks good. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab the surface, which has I think a pretty decent amount of crown. I think the gesture looks pretty good. So I'm just going to do an align. I'm going to say position over here. I'm going to grab this one. I'm going to align it over here like this. And I'm going to say partial. And I'm going to do a little bit blending. Okay, I'm going to say XR series of 2. Blend factor will be set to 1 like that. And I think that looks good. And now for this piece, what you have to do is you just have to extend it and make sure it's lined up. Okay, so patch precision is gone. I don't need that anymore. So, and I'm just going to turn on symmetric modeling for this one. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to intersect it like this, and it creates a pretty nice intersection like that. So that's good. Okay, so now I'm just going to intersect this piece. Oops, I'm going to grab both, intersect it over here, and I'm going to say trim, and I'm going to say trim here too. And that looks good. Now this this piece over here, just for aesthetics, I'm just going to chop it off. So I'm just going to project the curve like this, and I'm just going to project it in Y. Delete the curve over here, and I'm going to just trim, and that's done. Now, it does have a little bit of, I guess, a feature line that goes inside. It's kind of hard to see in the front, but from the rear view, I think it's a little bit more clear. And looks like it just, oh, okay. So that's interesting. I think it's supposed to just blend into nothing. That's kind of interesting. I necessarily wouldn't do that because the theoretical is going to be a little bit different. Well, let's just put it in. Okay, so in order to do that, I'm just going to grab a curve over here. Of course, it has to be centered. Oh, okay. Now it's not in, it's actually not lining up because I trimmed this edge. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hide the curve over here. And I'm going to untrim this one over here like this. And now let's snap the curve again. Whoops. Where did it go? There we go. Just going to snap it like this, and well, basically follow the thickness. And I'm pretty sure it's got a little bit angle inboard, so let's put that in. And this time I'm just going to keep it simple. Actually, if it's going to be flat like that, I think I can do this. Although I'm not quite sure if that's the case. I think what's actually happening is I think this is lower and I think it's lifting as it goes towards the outboard side, but I'm not sure if that's the best workout. So one thing you can do is you can just do this 1 and 2. Actually, I do need a surface on the other side, so I'm just going to duplicate mirror, and I'm just going to click here and here, and basically that's going to give you the surface that you need, and I'll just snap it over here. Now, of course, the only problem is now this provides the necessary break in the surface. I don't think it's quite following the angle. So if you were to like follow the angle exactly, you would have to just probably bring it down like this, and you would have to blend it. But because it's intersected, I don't know if that's the best workout. So I think for this one, I think I'm just going to leave it like that. Okay, so all the primary surfaces are done. The only thing you need to do now is just put some fillets on it. So let's go ahead and do that. So first of all, I'm just going to trim this one, and actually I'm going to trim everything over here about the center. So let's grab a curve, snap to the grid using Alt and left mouse click. I'm just going to project it over here like that, and I'm just going to trim the whole thing. Okay, and let's just turn symmetry on. Okay, and now it's time for fillets. However, because there's a little bit of flat over here, I do have to be aware of that. So let's go ahead and break up this surface over here. So I'm just going to grab insert. I'm just going to snap it like this, and that looks good. All I have to do is trim and divide like that, and that's done. And actually, I'm going to delete the construction history over here too, and it's time for fillets. Now, because the reference is pretty clear as far as the fillet size, it should be pretty easy. Okay, so for this one, well, I think I can use curve. Oh, actually, what's going on? Oh, there's 2 of them. So let me just delete these over here, and I'm going to reduce the transparency on the canvas, and let's go ahead and do a surface fillet. So it's going to be chord. It's going to be G2, and I'm going to start with maybe 50. Form factor I'm going to just set it to 1, see how it is. Okay, and I'm just going to click this one and this one. Okay, so looks like 50 is quite small. So let's, first of all, I'm going to say edge align, and I'm going to set it to maybe 150. Okay, so 150 gives me a pretty decent size. The only problem is because it's a surface fillet, I think it's a little bit biased. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a curve fillet. So let's do that. So I'm going to grab this one over here. It's going to be chord. It's going to be G2, and 150 is to start with. I would say probably a little bit bigger. Let's do 200. I think that looks a little bit better. And these ones, you probably should give it a little bit of form factor. So 0.5 transition will probably give you a smoother transition. So just a little bit more lead in. I think 250 is pretty good considering the angle and stuff. So let's find out what it is over here. Well, maybe a little bit bigger. So I'll maybe just go 300. Oh, 300 like this. Yeah, that's a pretty good fit. Now, the only problem is right now, I think the curve is a little bit biased. So what you can do is you can always use align in order to make a little bit of adjustment. So if you were to do an adjustment, you just want to make sure the blending is off and you set it to G2. And for this one, I think I'm just going to do this. So I'm just going to push it a little bit this way like that. And I'm going to align this one over here like that. And I'm just going to push it a little bit this way so that the CV structure over here is nice. Well, basically it's nice and balanced. Okay, but since I'm using that, I'm going to get rid of this one, and hopefully this all fit. So let's give it a go. So first of all, I do need to make sure that this one is done. So I'm just going to grab a curve like this. I'm going to snap it over here, and I'm going to copy and paste and snap it over here. And now I'm just going to project this one like that. Well, you can project a normal, you can project a view. I don't think it really matters for this piece. Okay, just do that. I'm going to trim here. I'm going to say keep this time. Oops, keep. I'm going to keep over here. I'm just going to use a bi-rail. So it's going to be 1 and 2. Like that. I'm going to say curvature on both sides. Explicit control is going to be off. And let's go ahead and align. So I'm going to say align. It's going to G2. I'm just going to make sure it's set to edge. Actually, I'm going to turn off auto scale G2 because that's off. Okay, so edge over here, edge on the top, like this, and that's going to allow you to have a nice CV structure that's just even, without having to rebuild a curve over here. So that's going to be good. And now what I'm going to do is, well, let's first of all hide this one. I'm just going to strike a curve from here to here. I know it's got a little bit of crown, so you can always duplicate that, or you can just do a curve like this. Now, even if I do this, it looks like it's got a couple of spans, so I'm just going to do a fit curve like this, and it's going to be degree 2. And let's just delete the construction history over here, like that. I'm going to snap it over here. I'm going to copy and paste and snap it over here. Now, I do think that it's a little bit bigger, or I should say smaller on the top, but let's find out. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to project it from the top. Actually, I'm just going to project the view this time because I might need to make some adjustments. And let's go ahead and extend both of these over here. I'm going to trim here and I'm going to trim here. And well, this time I think I'm just going to copy and paste the curve. Actually, I should have probably just aligned this first. Okay, so I'm just going to align over here. Actually, you know what? Let's do this. Actually, that's pretty close. So maybe I'm okay. Okay, so let's align. I'm just going to align it over here. And I'm going to align it here. Yeah, I would say that's close enough. Okay, so now what you have to do is just, well, get rid of these curves because they're no longer needed. And I'm just going to use a square. So it's going to be 1 and 3 is going to be curvature. So I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, and 4 like this. And of course, it's got a couple of spans. So let's try rebuild. That doesn't get rid of the spans. So I'm just going to go explicit control 5 and 5 like this. And we got curvature on both sides. Right, so now the only thing I need to do is this one. So what you can do is, well, for this one, it's probably better if you were to have something over here, just so that I can put it in, put a surface in. So let's do this. First of all, these are done. So I can just delete the construction history like that. And now I'm just going to grab a curve like this. Now this is just a helper surface and obviously there's nothing here. So I just needed to trim to something. So I'm just going to grab a rail like this. The reason why I'm doing this is because if I were to just do a rail like that, let's do a project. Well, maybe parallel will work. But if I were to just do this and I do a rail, if it's natural, you'll see the CV structure is a little bit off. Now, if you were to change that to a parallel sweep mode, oops, let me just click on this one. I'm going to do this. If I were to do it parallel, of course, it's going to be a little better. Yeah, actually, you know what? Let's just keep it simple and do it that way. Okay, I'm just going to do a rebuild on this side though, so that I can get rid of the spans. And now the only thing I need to do is just copy and paste this one over here and just cut this one off. So I'm going to grab rail or align, and I'm going to grab this one over here. I'm just going to align it like this, make sure it's all the way to the end, and I'm just going to project and trim. Now, because it's complementary, well, basically the edge and the surface is merging together. So what you want to do is you sometimes want to extend it just a little bit, so then you got a little, it cleans a little bit, it trims a little bit cleanly, and that's done. Okay, and I'm going to just trim this to clean that up. Now, I'm not quite sure if the fillet size on the bottom is that big, but since they should be pretty close. Now, do notice that there's a little offset between the glass and the A-pillar itself. Well, let's just put that in. Okay, so I'm just going to, well, this one, it should be pretty simple. I'm just going to do a fit curve over here like this. Just going to delete the construction history like this. I'm going to snap over here and I'm going to snap over here. That looks good. I'm going to project. Same thing over here and get rid of the curves because they're no longer needed. And I'm just going to do an extend and trim. Now you can copy and paste the curve, or you can just do a by rail and align, whichever you feel is easier. And looks like it's not building, so rebuild over here. That's good. Okay, I'm just going to do an explicit control, and let's see, 5 and 5 should do like this. And all I'm going to do is just align over here. It's going to be curvature, and it's going to be curvature over here, and that's done. So let's go ahead and get rid of all these curves. Just symmetry it over to the other side. And that is how you build a transition for the Polestar 02 concept. All right. Thank you guys for watching and see you next time.